when I sat across from Erica on the 15th. So there's not open communication right now between Brian Harpole and Turning Point USA. Yet, they did feel it necessary to give us flights for the 15th. Well, if your perspective, and if I'm Turning Point USA and I'm going, okay, well, he's not answering this question, don't you think they should want to know if he was there that morning? Like, shouldn't they be like, hey, like, where the heck were you? You were on our payroll, actually, and you were supposed to be with us, and so now we like require to know where you were. And so there's also this nonstop lack of urgency with Turning Point USA, a lack of caring. Like they almost think like the details are funny. They don't care. I think that's how the public feels. They certainly don't care about any of this. Like, why else would you have a tent? Like, it's quite morbid. It felt like a seance to see that tent up and people taking selfies under it. And I think
Nonstop
that that
lack
disturbs
of
people. I think that there has
urgency
been
with Turning
something
Point USA, a
spiritually
lack of caring. Like they
disturbing
almost think
about a
like the
lot of
details
the
are funny. They don't
decisions and
care.
communications that have been
I think
coming out
that's
of
how the
Turning Point
public feels. They
USA.
certainly don't care
So thank you, Sam, because I think
about
that
any
you
of this.
really just
Why else would you have a
just
tent?
hit the
Like it's
nail on the
quite
head there
morbid.
in
It felt
terms
like a
of why this
seance to
suddenly
see
feels
that tent
very
up and people
important when
taking
we were all
selfies
willing
under
to
it.
accept.
And I
I
think
did
that
one
that
episode on this, guys.
disturbs
This
people. I
wasn't
think that
like
there has been
it
something
wasn't like
I'm not married
crazy
to
spiritually
this, Candace. I'm
disturbing
not married to
about a
this
lot
guy.
of the
I'm not married to
decisions
yeah.
this
and
theory.
communications that
Like,
have been coming
if
out of
it's
Turning Point
nothing, then
USA.
it's nothing, right? And,
Yeah.
and I
So
suspect,
thank
I
you,
still
Sam, because I think
suspect
that you
that
really
there's a
just
good chance it could be, there's a really good chance it could be nothing. And I'm going to need from personally, I'm going to need really big receipts to believe it.
right.
But like, but if Brian Harpole's job is to protect Charlie, which he failed at, by the way, like let's just be real honest, he failed. The team failed. They failed. If I'm TPUSA, like, where, like, how did you guys fail this? And if Brian Harpole's attention was split, or he was elsewhere, his head was elsewhere, he was going to meetings elsewhere, he's doing other stuff. Like, I want to know that.
You're right. I totally agree. Myron, I'm going to let you jump in here too. I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me good, or am I
Yeah.
coming in? Yeah, so I'll be very brief here. We're all here for the same reason, right? We all don't believe the official narrative is someone that used to work for the federal government and understands how investigations work. The official narrative has created more questions than answers. And Candace, kudos to you for going out there and trying to find those answers. And I think it's very important that people understand that when you're doing investigations, you're going to go down many different roads, right? You're going to talk to bad informants that might have ulterior motives. You're going to talk to people that are going to give you misleading information. You're going to do a records check here and it might lead you somewhere that was completely not relevant to what's going on. Like, the thing that sucks here is that you're doing this investigation with millions of people watching you, and they're going to, try to say, oh, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, blah, blah, blah. The benefit, right, of being a criminal investigator a lot of the times is we work in the shadows, we do our investigation, we go down many different holes, then we come down with an indictment and arrest warrant after we connect everything. Unfortunately, right, for you, Candace, you have a bunch of critics that want to sit there and say, well, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. I think you've done a great job of, trying to find the truth, and people are going to criticize and talk shit. And I think we're all here for the same reasons. The official narrative doesn't add up. They haven't been transparent. And that's why people are doing their own independent investigation. And the federal government's failed with being transparent with the people, and the people don't trust the government anymore. This is really an L for the G. So keep doing what you're doing. I know people are going to hate, and I think your heart's in the right place, and you're really trying to find answers here. And yeah, there's going to be, roads that sometimes don't lead where it's supposed to go, or roads that may be questionable. But I think talking to everybody and trying to get the full picture and being transparent about it is the way to go. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's hard. I mean, we have a really small team. I think people forget, like there's four of us, and it's so much work, and we're investigating every lead, and there have been so many that have led nowhere, by the way. I mean, you can imagine you're getting 50,000 emails, and some people just want to write hate stuff. Some people are giving you tips, and we're building those pictures in the background. We have so many um leads that are still being worked on from a long time ago, and we have to get on the phone with people, and we have to ask for verification, and we have to get when we get paperwork, we then have to verify if the paperwork is real, because I don't have expertise. And then I present something and I misspeak and I say E4 instead of O5 or O6, whatever. And the next thing you know, you get 1,000 emails of people telling you like you're an idiot. It's hard. And people also, I think, forget, and this is not like a woe is me pity party, but like Charlie was my friend. Like, I went through a very real stage of grief. I'm still going through it in many ways because I don't know what happened. Like, there's something that feels very unresolved about it. And he just shouldn't have been taken out like that. Okay. And their anger, which I think you guys have seen that last week or whatever, like to see people like Ben Shapiro get on stage and pretend they were his friend. Like, you don't know what that does to me spiritually. Like, I just want to fight. Like, I want to physically get into a fight. That is like, it's just not okay. And there's something that is so grotesque about it at its core There is something that is it is so say it's almost satanic, right? I look at politics now and it makes me want to vomit. Like, to realize what they turned him into after, like, they did not view this man as a human being. They did not care about Charlie at all. It was like he either was gonna get them a check or he wasn't, and that even for me, like, the ick I get from turning points, like, that that man did not like that man. So what are you doing? Is this really just about, like, who writes you a check and gives like, they can just buy a friendship with Charlie? Like, it angers me, and I still have to, like, contend with that anger, that upset, and also trying to, okay, let me divert the energy into this investigation and trying to figure it out. So I do ask you guys to just recognize that, like, to recognize that there's a lot going on. And I will always, if I get something wrong, which is what I was open to doing, like I said to Ian, I was like, if you want to send me an email and he has the smoking gun proof that he wasn't even a Green Beret, I will run it and I will own it. But that's not the case. And so it just feels like petty. Like, if you're going to use your energy, like, we don't need you finding his exes, man. Like, we really could use your help. Like, like,
Yeah, I mean, look, professional criminal investigators don't get
like,
it right a lot of the times. There's a reason why a lot of cases don't get solved. People don't get indicted, they don't get charged. It's not easy to run an investigation. It's even harder to do it with a million people trying to Monday morning quarterback everything that you do and criticize every single thing that you do. So I totally understand coming from that world myself. So look, you're trying to find the truth. I think you've been good about transparent. Like, if you make a mistake, you correct it. And one of the negatives is you're out there in front of everyone, so people are going to give their
yeah.
opinions, and that's the negative.
Yep, you're right. Ryan, we'll go to you and then we'll go to Diligent Denizen.
Yeah, no, I just want to tell you, thank you, Candace, for everything that you're doing. We all appreciate, at least one person out there that
You
seems
too,
like they want to
Ryan.
find the
You've been
truth.
crushing it. You've been absolutely crushing it.
Well, thank you. And I think that the thing that upsets, I think, most Americans is the fact that you're doing the job that we expect Turning Point to be doing, right? Like, this was Charlie's organization, and you're the one out here asking the questions, and they're almost seem like they're just content with whatever Fed slop narrative we get, and they're ready to move on and get the party started and go on to the next event and the next whatever. And it makes me feel anyways like that Turning Point and the amount of people that are going after and attacking you for trying to just find answers makes me think that Turning Point's something much bigger, that it feels like it's a giant money laundering operation, that it's a political machine, and that Charlie was just a pawn, right? That he almost didn't even know everything that was going on within his own organization. It got way too big for one man to follow everything. And some shady shit seems like it was going on behind the scenes. And I think there's a lot of key players that were involved in some shady shit that are more they're incentivized to just kind of sweep this under the rug and buy the Fed not slob narrative because they don't want any attention shined on whatever shady shit that they were doing. And I think that's why Charlie was putting Doge together. And I'll
Yeah.
land it there.
And I got a really big tip on that Doge investigation. I think there was something there. I think, if this pans out, and it looks like it is panning out, Charlie discovered that there was a lot of money that was missing. And again, I'm trying to encourage this person to speak out. So again, one of the balls that's been in the air that I've been slowly working on, but I think all of our instincts have been correct, that there's a
All
lot
right,
more
there
to
we go. We got it good.
BTI. And there's just been a lot of people that have been basically saying to us, these cheap tactics, to even question anything means that, like, you have to just accept
Sorry, guys.
everything
I'm
that's
making it work with
happening.
everything.
Myron, you got to turn yourself off, your mute on. I can mute your mic. Actually, that's a great ad. Yeah, so it definitely feels really weird. Diligent, let's go to you, Diligent Denizen.
Thank you. Yeah, what bothers me the most about this whole thing is the lack of curiosity. Like, here we are all citizen journalists. Every single person on this stage right now describes themselves as a journalist in some way, shape, or form, right? There's no curiosity, right? Like, when did we say, well, here's a good example. Harrison, you posted 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk died that there was a credible threat against his life. Has the FBI reached out to you to ask you about that?
No.
Also,
No.
like, are you going to tell us who that was? It feels like that might be relevant now.
Yeah. So in the absence of a rigorous investigation by the agency, we are led to lead this investigation. That is why Fort Huachuca is so relevant. But I was going to ask you. Thank you, Candace. Can you tell us who told you that?
Because
Because
he's
the
dead now.
FBI is not asking you.
Yeah, I mean, the person that told me asked me not to say who they were, so I'm not going to give up a source. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Well, then, in the absence of answers and a rigorous investigation, we are led to do that ourselves. So every credible piece of evidence that we have to follow, every trail should be exhausted before we say, oh, well, this ain't worth it. And I have seen far more energy put into discrediting this Fort Huachuca witness than I have for people actually looking into the claim itself. Like Candace said earlier, she actually called people at the base to verify whether or not the events occurred. Was he there at that time? Where did it happen at, etc. But I see all of these people. It's almost like it's coordinated,
Yeah.
right? All of these people on the same 2 days come out and say, oh, don't listen to this guy. They apply labels. Do you know why we apply labels to people? That way you stop listening to them. Oh, what he says doesn't matter anymore because he's an abuser, because he's
Right.
a fraud, because he's this, because he's that, right?
Yeah.
Far more effort into discrediting that witness than there has actually been into validating the information that he's been given.
By the way, the
That
best way to discredit him is to debunk his story. Like it's like, so I'm like, why don't you focus on this? You can act. Do you hate Mitch? Do you hate who he is as a human being? Do you believe he's a pathological liar? How about proving that something that he told us was a pathological lie? Like, doesn't that just make sense? Like,
Zero convictions. All of the
yeah,
people saying that he was a fraudster, that he was an abuser, whatever. I couldn't find one record, criminal
no,
record
there was
of
no
him being
convictions.
convicted.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
too,
I
right?
couldn't find it either. They were showing no convictions. It was he said, she said. I mean, just like full character assassination.
A
And like,
one-sided divorce court that
yeah,
he didn't get to tell his piece in. Isn't
it
that
was very Me
interesting?
Too. It was very Me Too. I'm sorry to say it. And like when grown men are doing the Me Too shit, I just have no energy for it. I'm just like, all right, guys, like, cool, thumbs up. Like, I'm glad you found like his classmates in middle school or whatever. But like, could you use some of that male energy towards actually like if you think he's all of these things, the best thing to do would be like help us prove that he's lying on the thing that we care about, which is the Charlie Kirk assassination. And no one has thus far done that, and he has not changed his story. So I am inclined to follow this, especially because we now know that Erica and Andrew Colbert and Brian Harpole do care enough to offer up, um, some parsed alibis of sorts.
But they didn't refute being there. This is, I think, is a very important point. Not one of the people, including Congressman Amadei, with his statement, actually directly said, "I was not in Arizona or at Fort Huachuca at this time on this day." Not a single one of them have denied it.
Yeah, and I did. I don't know if you were on earlier when I said that, like, when Mitch first contacted me, he never said Mark Amity. He gave a description of the man, and he said it was a congressman. And then I gave him, faces, and he was like, "This looks like the guy, like Mark Amity." I think Mark Amity is the only one that at least attempted to give an actual time frame that was relevant, and he gave the footage. And I do think it kind of looks like him. It's not definitive, but like it does kind of look like him. That's sitting in the chair when someone gave me the time point. So I do want to be at least like he gave us something. You know what I mean? But regarding the two people that he contacted me about, Brian Harpole and Erica, I find it strange that they went behind the scenes when they had a direct communication with me. Like, if you care enough, why wouldn't you just text me and I could shut it down immediately? Like, I don't.
We just lost your sound.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm still trying to understand like what Andrew Colbert is doing. I don't understand it. I don't understand what Andrew Colbert is doing. I really don't.
Well, obviously they care about the public perception of what's going on here, or they wouldn't give these half-hearted third-party alibis that don't really stand up under scrutiny,
Hmm.
right? Because they do care about the perception. And the argument is, well, they don't owe you any answers. They don't owe you any answers. That's right. They don't owe us any answers. But also they can deserve the scrutiny they get in return for not giving those answers, right? The suspicion that comes with that's part of not giving those answers. So it's a two-way exchange. Go ahead, Harrison. I see you
Right.
trying to go ahead.
I totally agree with you on that. Um, I do want to let me add this person as a speaker. We can do about like 10 more minutes here because I think that we have covered all of the main points. And I think now everyone understands why this Fort Huachuca story suddenly matters, even though it was definitely not a focal point of this investigation. I do think that there is something here. I will tell you that, like, if I was to bet on it when I first had Mitch on the show, I was at 50-50 on whether or not he saw who he said he saw. Um, Brian and Erica in particular, and Cabot Phillips as a third, which he felt, I think when I asked him a percentage on Cabot Phillips, he was like 90% sure or something. Now, like, I would probably put it at a lot higher, just based on the public reaction. It doesn't make sense to me, and Andrew Colbert is what tips me over the edge. I think. It makes no sense for him to go behind the scenes when he could just texted me and said, "Hey, I heard you covered this. Just wanted to give you this. Here's where Erica was, and so you could update people." That doesn't make sense to me. And I've heard that they are spending a lot of money on an anti-marketing campaign, if you will. I am trying to get receipts on that to see if that's true. And if that does pan out to be true, then I think we have our answer. I just added you, Suleiman. Did you want to say anything, or did you just want to listen?
Yeah, I did want to say something. Hopefully my mic is working. Can you hear me? Because
Yes.
I'm just in an Uber. Oh, brilliant. I guess my question is this, that when it comes to, by the way, I first of all appreciate the work you're doing. And also, I think one of my friends is on your team. But that being said, one of the questions I have is, in terms of Huachuca, how does someone prove the negative? And what I mean by that is, I can't always prove where I am at all times.
Mm.
So, for example, how do you prove that you're not somewhere if you don't somehow have some kind of photograph you take on the day? Like, how will they be able to disprove where they were? And the reason I ask that is because you can ask that about anyone. For example, Sam, I don't know where Sam was when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. So, will he be able to prove it or not? We just don't know. So, I guess the question is, how do you prove the negative?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is like just answer, right? Hey, I was not here. That would be like a nice strong start. I'm Brian Harpole and I was definitively not there. The second thing is you would just be so surprised at how much your phone has. If you were there, then Brian Harpole would have had to have taken a flight to Fort Huachuca relatively early on the 8th or early on the 9th. I mean, he could, if he's awake at that time, this is supposed to be like a guy who's doing security. He's got to be up early. How quickly before you roll over in bed and text somebody about something, like whether it's like breakfast, whatever it is, you're texting, and that is creating a timeline of everything you're doing all day. Like if you asked me what I was doing today between, I don't know, 4 and 6, I could look through my phone and see who I was texting at that time, and we'd be texting about something relevant to what we were doing or where we were about to meet up. There are so many ways that I think you could show what you were doing, but I think the first thing would be just to answer. Like, it's a pretty straightforward. Like, I don't see the upside in Cabot Phillips not answering. There's been so much innuendo about him. People are talking about like his pizza tattoo. Like, I don't think the energy of Ben Shapiro. I've been wondering what that's about. And so, like, when I saw like when he said Cabot Phillips, I was like, whoa, that I did not expect that turn. Because I had sent him so many people that like in Turning Point that I thought could have fit the description. Like maybe it was someone on the security team, and he was like, no, no, no. And then with no context, he was like Cabot Phillips was the guy. And I don't know. I find that to be interesting that he was off. Now Cabot could just very easily just be like, I was on vacation. Like that's 7 days, right? I mean, he was off air from the 4th until the 11th. And hey, he's got the wrong guy, wrong memory. And I'd be like, okay, cool. But that's a long time, right? That's a very long time that he could send us something or anything. So yeah, I think there's a million ways, but it would start with just denying it. Like it would be very simple, especially because it's gotten so big. And I want to be able to do that for them. I want to debunk it. I want it to be off of people's minds. Like if Cabot was just like with his family on vacation in Scotland, I want to be like, hey guys, like Mitch found we're looking for someone that looks like Cabot. You know what I mean? And so we can focus somewhere else. Or Erica has airtight. Here's where she was. This is what she was doing, and there really are just like there's just another blonde who was on the base that day. I think that would make a lot of people feel good if they just did that.
And Candace, if they hadn't already
So
weighed
it
in,
so it makes sense.
that would be one
So
thing,
so
right?
it makes So it makes sense what you're saying in terms of, if you were to provide a text, what you're proving is that you texted someone. But or if I mean, they're not going to give you evidence that they took a flight to Fort Huachuca. So I
No.
guess, because if they did it or they didn't do it, they wouldn't provide it either way.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason I'm asking the question is, I get the logic behind it. Like, first of all, the smart play would have been not to say anything. After he started giving evidence to that Green Beret, it
Yeah.
now becomes the onus is put on you. So I understand it. I'm on your side on that perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, hypothetically speaking, let's take Erica Kirk as an example, right?
Mhm.
Let's say she wasn't there on September the 8th, but she
Mhm.
hasn't got any digital footprint. Yes, she can deny it. That's one thing. But like, no one's gonna believe it even if she was to deny it. So how do you actually provide evidence that you weren't there? Other because if you text someone, that's not evidence because you could text from the place or from some other place. It's actually having like some kind of digital footprint
Yeah. So
somewhere
Erica's the
else at the
perfect
exact same time.
example because they did. Like you might not have been on earlier, but I reached out to Turning Point again because, like I said, I'm not interested in chasing rabbits. That it's like I want to actually know what's real and what's not. Yes, Sunday. What's today? On Sunday, I think around 1 o'clock p.m. I got on the phone with them. I reached out on Sunday. Sorry, on Saturday. Got on the phone with them sometime after mass on Saturday. I mean, on Sunday, pardon, and they were like, "Hey, like, yeah, she was like making dinner with, like, organizing or making dinner with Charlie. Like, we're gonna send you a message of like between her and Charlie speaking." And I was like, "Great, amazing. I will literally update Twitter right now and say like Erica was making dinner with Charlie." And they send me a message, but the contact was blacked out. So I went back, obviously, and I was like, "Hey, like, the contact's blacked out. Like, I don't. This could be a message between like me and George for all I know." And I was like, "Do you just mind like just sending like I know Charlie's number, obviously, so just like show me the contact." And they were like, "Oh, we blocked it out because this, it's like a pet, I don't know, like a nickname that she has for Charlie or whatever, and she just didn't want you to see it." And I was like, "Okay, well, you can just like change the contact name and just send me like, just send me a video of you opening it so I can see Charlie's number and tell my audience like this is confidently a text chain between Charlie and Erica." And then they just said, "Look, it's Sunday. I think it was like 1 o'clock or something, and she's busy with the kids, but we'll get you that." And so I waited. It's now been obviously more than 24 hours. It's been like 30. That was yesterday at 1 p.m. Now it's 9 p.m. on Monday, and they haven't sent it to me, like just the number, so I could see that it was Charlie. But I'm waiting. But there's a perfect example of how they could just easily show it. So I'm waiting for that, and if I get it, I will clarify to people that she was making dinner. And I also said to them like I don't need to show people the message either. So like don't worry about like his like whatever you call him getting out there. Like I'm happy to just like see it, and I think my audience trusts me enough that I would just say I saw it. So I'm still waiting for it. But that's a perfect example of how it could be done.
So that text message you're referring to, are
Hmm.
you saying that it would indicate her specific location? Like she'd be like, "Oh, guess what, honey? I'm downstairs cooking, I don't know,
Yeah,
roast
like the
chicken for you." So
I'm recapping here, but it was pretty much like, "Hey, parking the car, like be up there for dinner," or like, "And is dinner ready?" Like, "Yeah, it's on the table now." Right? Well, if they have that and it has the date of September 8th, which it had the date of September 8th, and that was the communication, like dinner's on the table now, like I'll be right down or something like that. Okay, great. And they just blacked out the contact. So I can't obviously I can't say to you guys like it was a conversation, it could have been a conversation between me and Mel. It could have been, so I was just like, could you just send that without the contact blacked out? And so that's what I'm waiting for. But that's a perfect example because like you can't go back in time and make that communication with Charlie. Like who else would Charlie be messaging? Like if I could just see this is Charlie and his wife and it said like love you or something like that. So it would be weird if Charlie was randomly texting that to somebody else, but I know his number, so they could just show me his number.
And just one other question while I've got you here, and I think it's really important because I've been covering this like from the beginning, generally speaking. And you basically have like the Fed position, and then you kind of have your position, which is you've gone through a wide range of strands and wide range of avenues. And I guess a lot of people kind of sit somewhere, maybe in the middle, maybe a bit towards you, maybe a bit towards the Fed position, whatever it may be. And from your perspective, and I kind of know what you're going to say, but just as a question, from your perspective, like where do you sit with the people who don't fully agree with maybe all the lines of investigation you're
Yeah.
doing, but then do question the Fed position? Like, I think a lot of people feel like there is this kind of idea that you either have to have the Fed position or you have to totally agree with you or Ian Carroll or whatever it may be. So, like, where do you sit with that?
No, I appreciate everyone that's investigating. If you're a person who is trying to convince us that Tyler Robinson on a rooftop by himself with no help took a shot from a 30-06 and like, Charlie ate vegetables and stopped the bullet, like you are just such a useless human being. I really never want to like I never want to see you. I don't want to follow you. I don't want to see a tweet from I want you to just be off the internet. Like that would be great. But beyond that, if you accept that something's wrong, obviously, and like there's got to be more of the story, then great. That's why there is so much variety on the internet. And I do think there is a level of this sort of like crowdsourced investigation. So, like, I don't agree with everything that, Ian comes up with. He doesn't agree with everything I say. Like, I don't agree with everything Sam Parker tweets or Myron says. But the point is like, I'm sitting here and I'm pulling together a picture because so many different people are able to pull together different strands. And I personally can say confidently that I sense that we are putting a lot of pressure on the authorities. They seem to be coming undone. There is definitively something here, and they were banking on our ADHD. Like they were banking on, we're going to throw like a memorial, we're going to make it amazing, we're going to give them Trump. They love Trump. He's going to throw red meat. He's going to say we're going to make America great again, and we're going to move on. And it actually seems to be getting bigger and it's snowballing. And so something has to give. And so I'm grateful for every person, no matter where you stop on the train. Like if you're like, I believe you on all this, but I don't believe this. Like, I mean, that's really what Morgan Ariel just said. Like, I don't like Mitch. That's fine. Great. But let's keep the pressure on the feds and remember that like we are all united in recognizing that we live in a really effed up world. Tim Dillon did he made it comedic, but also like it was like dark comedy of like we feel like we all now recognize we're kind of being ruled by like people that are into children and people that traffic children and people that traffic weapons, and they're kind of wanting us to just like be like, oh, but like the new iPhone just dropped. Like something, this can't go on like this. Society cannot go on like this. If we have a society that we don't protect good people, like we don't protect decent human beings like Charlie Kirk, we don't protect our children, we're too fearful to even speak and say something, which is, I'm sorry, but we live in a world of remarkable cowardice because of what I view to be a shortage in testosterone. I find so many men to be pathetic. I really do. Like Charlie Kirk was just assassinated in broad daylight, and you're just gonna like accept the Fed slap. I have no use for you. Like I have no use for you. We are losing the society because you're still allowed to walk around breathing. Is what the issue is, and you get to call yourself a man. Like why am I taking all these bullets? Thank you to the men who have stood up for me, but like for the men that are just like going along to get a paycheck, like I don't need you ever on the airwaves ever again. I really don't. And at the end of last year, between Jeffrey Epstein and Charlie Kirk, if something did not stir in your spirit and make you go, "What the f is going on?" We have no use for you in American society or any other society, frankly. And that's how I feel. So. Thank you to everybody who has jumped on and had this conversation. Again, I appreciate everyone. Harrison, I appreciate you. I think we do have different styles in this, and I hope that you at least hear my perspective and my heart in this. And no, I'm obviously not going to let Fort Huachuca go. My husband's on an MI6, and yeah, I don't care about Mitch's baby mamas. And beyond that, we will. I'll be back. I'm off air all this week, and I'll be back next week. And I have even more explosive stories for you that we have found. We've tracked Tyler Robinson even more on that day. So it's just going to get crazier. Thank you guys.